So Donald Trump has been talking nonstop about the 2020 election recently at rallies, Truth Social. He just keeps talking about it. The election was rigged, it was stolen. We need to guard the next vote. And I've said many times, I'm not particularly interested in continuing to litigate the 2020 election. Outcome's not in dispute. You can have debates about the rules, whether the rules should be changed, about IDs, absentee ballots, all of that. Real issues, important issues. But that has nothing to do with frivolous arguments about the vote counts and the election being stolen. But here's why I'm talking about this today. With the Iowa Republican caucus less than 2 weeks away, the former president appears to now be accusing his Republican opponents of cheating as he encourages his supporters.
So do whatever it takes. If you do, we will win and win big, and that's what you have to do. You know the other side does cheat, and we're not going to let that happen. We cannot let that happen. But that's what we need from you. Get in your car, get a lot of people, and get down and caucus.
And here's the thing that few are discussing, that accusing his fellow Republicans of cheating is nothing new. When Senator Ted Cruz won the Iowa Republican caucus in 2016, Trump tweeted, "Ted Cruz didn't win Iowa, he stole it. That's why all the polls were so wrong and why he got far more votes than anticipated. Bad." So this all may be just the beginning if things get close with his Republican opponents. Joining me now is Ken Block. He was the voter data expert the Trump campaign hired 3 years ago. He has a new book coming out called Disproven: My Unbiased Search for Voter Fraud from the Trump Campaign, the data that shows why he lost and how we can improve our elections. It comes out on March 12th. Ken, thanks very much for being here. Appreciate it. So what do you make of Donald Trump claiming, or suggesting at the least, that his GOP primary opponents may be trying to rig the Iowa caucus?
It's a clear pattern. I can't put my head around it. It's fascinating to me that in 2016 in Michigan, Trump won by a tiny little margin, about 10,000 votes. But that could never have been a fraudulent election. And in 2020, when he lost by 100,000 votes in Michigan, he claimed fraud then. It's silly. It's winding up his base, which I understand as a candidate. You do want your base engaged. The problem is he is dragging our election integrity and perceived integrity and infrastructure into a series of outright lies, is really the only way I can frame it. And it's absolutely wrong. And I have direct evidence that contradicts his narrative that the elections were stolen.
Well, yeah, talk to me about that. I mean, you were hired for what purpose and what exactly did you find?
I was engaged the day after the election by the Trump campaign. There were multiple camps of lawyers circulating around the campaign. Within the formal campaign infrastructure, there was a group of lawyers who were professional, who did all of the proper due diligence. They hired me to do two things: to look directly for voter fraud through data analytics. And as we got going on that, they realized that they were being inundated with claims of fraud that others had brought, and they had no ability to parse them out and figure out what was actually happening. And so what I did, or what I was asked to do, was evaluate about 15 different claims of fraud that were going to become the foundation of lawsuits. And these lawyers wanted to understand and know whether the data was good and it was a good foundation for a lawsuit. And in every single one of those circumstances, what was brought to the campaign through other means was clearly and provably false.
Donald Trump posted on Truth Social this week about what he called a fully verified 32-page report on 2020 election fraud. I'm sure you're aware of this. Let me just read you what he said. He said, "I'm pleased to share a report that is fully verified. Most of the information was gotten from government sources, tapes, and other public records compiled by the most highly qualified election experts in the country. These numbers are determinative, and in all cases are hundreds of thousands of votes per swing state, more than I needed to win that state. If the Republican Senate does not step forward and address this atrocity, it'll happen again. It'll be virtually impossible for Republicans to win elections in the future." He says he has the proof.
He hasn't brought forward the proof. Rudy Giuliani claimed he had the proof, or the proof was coming quickly. Mike Lindell is famous for making wild claims about voter fraud, promising results. The results never came.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.